Peace and power, fam. Welcome back to another episode of Free the Plant, Free the People. I'm your host, LeVar Eady, and this podcast is presented by BluRok Farm. We also have our affiliate link with LeafWell.com. So if you want to get 10% off or $10 off your medical cannabis card, make sure to go to LeafWell.com and use the code BluRockFarm10. Again, that's BluRockFarm10. The code is on the screen, and you'll get $10 off, and that's regardless of any state that you are trying to get the card in. Again, the code is BluRockFarm10. So, as you know, we're Free the Plant, Free the People, where we explore truth, culture, community, and consciousness. Usually, we are talking about consciousness and community and culture through the lens of cannabis. But today, we're going to be taking a different look at and more of community and culture through cinema. So today's episode is a bit different because we're going to be diving into the film Sinners. And so this episode I titled Sinners, Reflection, Truth, and the Southern Black Experience. This episode is going to be chocked full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop it now, go see the movie, then come back. I recommend everybody see the movie, regardless of your race, age, anything. I think it's just a good. You will take what you want to take from it. If you wanna dive deep in the culture, of Southern Black experience, you can. If you want to dive deep into the mythical legends of vampires, you can. If you just want to watch a good story that was well written, well produced, well shot, well acted, then this movie is for you. Um, like I said, if you haven't seen it, go see it. I've seen it twice, and I'll see it again if I have the time. I also recommend that you see it in IMAX, as Ryan Coogler suggested. It was shot specifically for that. I would suggest that you see it in that. And it does add to the experience. It does change it, and I'll get into a little bit of that later. But this to me is more than just a movie. It's a mirror of American culture, and a mirror to American society. Um, so I just want to give a little context to kind of a little bit about me that will explain the lens that I saw the movie in. Uh, I'm a 40-year-old black man that went to college in Georgia. I went to a historically black college, Morehouse College, the college of Martin Luther King Jr., uh, Samuel Jackson, Walter Massey. Um, so I have ties to the South in that regard and understand the historical significance and the cultural difference that the South, specifically the Deep South, brings, especially when it comes to race relations. Um, I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I grew up in California all through high school. Um, and then I went to college, like I said, in Atlanta, Georgia, and I stayed there. I was out there for 12 to 15 years, something like that. Um, so again, that just puts some context into it. Um, this film touches on so many different genres. So I do think it was a disservice calling it a horror movie, or just a flat out horror movie. I do think that it does fall into that category, but I think it encompasses so much more. Um, it touches on faith. It touches on shame, repression, family dynamics, redemption. It's kind of a musical to a certain degree, but most people who watch it would never say that. But if you really boil down, a lot of the story is told through music, with the music propelling the narrative. Um, so I think that's important. So yeah, those are some of the things that I wanted to kind of dive into. Um, and so yeah, let's get into it. The setup, the story, and the structure I think is very important for this film. The way that it's set up the entire movie takes place in 24 hours. The first shot is the beginning, and technically it's also the end. Um, Not counting the mid credit scene and then the post credit scene. But the gist of the story is wrapped up within 24 hours. I think Ryan Coogler does a great job of setting up that where the setting of the scene is 1932, I believe, 1932 or 1933 in the Mississippi Delta. Um, the initial shot shows a church, and what I consider the main character, Sammy, or preacher boy or pastor boy, um, coming into the church, are riding in a car, then walks into the church, fucked up, for lack of a better word, um, and then we see his father, um, and that kind of sets the tone of the religious aspect of it. It sets the tone of that we're in the deep south. It sets the tone that if you're familiar with that time frame, that's around the Depression. It's around Jim Crow era. It's around the beginning of the blues, or the Delta blues, I should say, the Mississippi Delta blues. The pacing on this movie, I think, is very intentional. Some might say it's slow. I didn't feel like it was slow. Um, After reflecting, after seeing the movie, I did realize that we really didn't get into um, really any of the heavy action scenes until I'll say the back 2/3 of the movie. But again, I was not. I felt I was entertained the whole time. So um, I don't feel like the dialogue was so heavy that it felt like it was slow either. Um, I just think that the Sunday Salvation wrapping up the Saturday evening um, activities. Also, like I said, gave the full circle of that it was a 24-hour event, encompassing itself. The cinematography of this movie is so rich. The colors are so vivid. The It's very intentional. The vibes, the feelings that you get. I did see it in two different IMAX theaters. As I was talking to our producer Mark about prior to recording, and it did produce two different experiences. The first time I saw it in, I would guess, the more traditional IMAX, the largest IMAX, and there's certain scenes where the way that he shot it really made me feel more immersed into the movie. But all of the movie is so beautifully shot. Um, that's what I wanted to talk about in regards to kind of the setup. Um, I kind of touched on the Southern Black experience of that it is in the South. It is during Jim Crow era. The way that you're kind of informed of that is through the dialogue of Delta Slim talking about. Um, I mean, not Delta Slim, but he does talk about it later. But how Smoke and Stack are arguing about accepting the plantation money. That isn't real money. It's only wooden nickels or wooden coins that can be used on the plantation. And that was significant because that was a systematic tool used uh, by white supremacists and of keeping, even though slavery was over, of basically extending slavery. And so the way that that worked, for those that might not be familiar, is um, uh, slavery ended. A lot of the black slaves didn't have any financial means to just leave the plantation. So a lot of them ended up staying and working for the plantation. They were supposed to be paid for board and stay and yada yada yada. And a lot of the ways that they would hinder that is one is by docking their wages and lowering their wages so that they basically had to stay there forever because they didn't have enough money to be able to leave. The other way that they used to do that was by saying, we're going to pay you in fake money, plantation wooden nickels that can be only used on the plantation. And that's how they would be basically paid their rent for their board, pay for food that they're going to eat. And then the race that they were at, even if they collected all the wooden nickels, they couldn't then use that to pay for their freedom, because real money, government recognized money, was the only money that would be able to be used for their freedom. So the movie set that up without going into that detail that I just did, with small little scenes of how what that indicated. Um, they touched on the religious aspect of it, of the South, which is big in the South, of Sammy, whose father was a pastor, who grew up in the church. Um, Remick, the who later is the villain, the antagonist, um, but doesn't see himself as an antagonist, is also knows the Bible very well as well, which we later find out. Um, and Sammy, we find out that the religion doesn't save Sammy, um, and that's an important aspect. Also, there's indications of how religion was used to justify the enslavement of black people, of the occupation of other people, of horrendous and horrible deeds, not just done to black people, but also done to the Irish, and other indigenous people. And so, touching on that of is religion really a backbone, or is it a burden, or is it a means of escape? Um, is the church a sanctuary, um, or is it a place for shame and silence? Um, because again, like I said, the Bible was being used to justify the enslavement of black people. Um, so take that how you want to. So yeah, some of these things, and then like I said, how this touches on me is like, again, Morehouse is part of the AUC, which is the Atlantic University Center, which is composed of a multitude of historically black colleges: Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Spelman University, Morris Brown, and then the Theological School. So the religious ties to the South and to my school is palpable, and that wasn't lost on me when I attended there. Um, I want to go talk about the characters, because the acting in this movie was so well done. Michael B. Jordan playing twins, and his interpretation of the twins was so distinct for me that um, I could tell them apart without anybody saying their names. And again, it's the same actor playing both, and they didn't do any crazy things like provide a scar on one or make one with one missing arm to make it very distinct that one is one versus the other. Um, there's a scene where Stack takes off his hat, and uh, Stack wears red, Smoke wears blue. There's a scene where Stack takes off his hat, and even in that scene, I can tell that that's Stack without the hat, because of how well Michael B. Jordan is emoting and acting in all of the scenes. Um, uh, Stack smiles often. Smoke never smiles. Smoke is introverted. Stack is extroverted. Um, Stack's more about the community, where Smoke's more about the financial gains and the monetary aspect of it. It's just so many different aspects of it that I thought was really, really well done by the acting of both of Michael B. Jordan for both characters. Um, Annie, oh my gosh, the way that she is portrayed in this movie is stunning. Um, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, um, and I can't think of any other movie where a dark-skinned, full-figured black woman is portrayed quite in this manner. And what I mean by that is she's fully developed. Smoke loves her for her. It's not a fetish. It's not, oh, I just love big. No, it has nothing to do with that. He loves her for her. It's just the circumstances make their love difficult. Um, the only other movie that I can think of where uh, a dark skinned, full figured black woman is loved for being a great full figured black woman was Waiting to Exhale. That's the only movie that came to mind that I saw that being portrayed. um, in cinema. So I thought that was great. I thought her character of being in the hoodoo voodoo culture and but still embracing Christianity. Because there's a scene where she says, where she's talking about how she put the root on him, but she also prayed for him. And that's something that was new to me too, because I've always seen them diametrically opposed. Voodoo, they say, is like devil stuff, and then Christianity is more light stuff. Where she was putting them together and showing that they can coexist, and that hoodoo and voodoo is not evil or devilish. It is for the light. It is for positive. It is for, um, um, yeah, positivity. Um, it's dependent on the practitioner, just like everything. Just how they say money is the root of all evil. Money is a tangible inanimate object. It has no feelings. It has no purpose other than the purpose we give it, and that we bestow on it. So I thought that was really interesting how they portrayed her. Sammy, Miles Canton, uh, debut role. That boy acted. I believed him. I believed everything he did. Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. His voice, his naivete of being the younger cousin was very evident, very clear. Mary Haley Stanfield did a great job of portraying the character of a technically in those times because of the one drop rule, which is at one drop of black blood or in you, you were considered black. She was 1/8 black based off of her grandmother's father being black, um, but passing as a white woman in that Clarksdale, Mississippi, because she was light skinned enough that she was able to do so, but not wanting to, but wanting to embrace what society would have saw her as if they knew. Um, her kind of portraying white proximity and how that can necessarily provide danger to black bodies, um, even unwillingly, willingly. Um, I just, yeah, it's just there's so Bo and Grace, who played the Asian American characters in the South at the time, which I was aware of Asians being in the South at that time, uh, but I wasn't aware of the dynamic that they had at that time of Asian Americans being entrepreneurial spirits, owning stores, and being close enough in proximity to whiteness that they were allowed to sell to whites, but being treated like minorities, so having a kinship with black people. And that was evident in the scene of um, Lily, I believe, Grace's daughter, going from the black side where Bo, her father, is talking to Smoke and going across the street to the white side to get her mother, who is working the store on the white side. I thought that was well done. Kinship with black people, well done. If you've seen the movie and that was interesting to you, you should watch this documentary that's on YouTube. I believe it's Grace Liu. Please, if I got that wrong, I apologize. But she did a great documentary about Asians in the Mississippi Delta. Um, so I think that was just like I said, the acting in this movie was wonderful. Um, the other thing that I think was an interesting theme that I wanted to kind of reflect on is like the things that we carry. The movie touches on capitalism, like I said about the wooden nickels. It touches on racism, like I said, with the one drop rule with Mary, black acceptance of her being accepted in the black culture, being invited to the cookout of basically how a lot of white culture likes to embrace black culture when it's positive, but when things hit the fan, tend to flee. I think that was brought up in there. Um, Remick being the vampire, and if you notice, a lot of the scenes that he's in, vultures are around, which I took as hinting at culture vultures and appropriation of black culture. So that I think was important, as well as the way that Remick um, is portraying a vampire, an Irish vampire that lost his family to Christianity and white colonialism, in essence, and how the Bible was used to put them down and didn't save them, and it didn't save Sammy either. Of him wanting Sammy because of his talent, touching back on cultural appropriation, on how um, there's tons and tons of stories going from Elvis, Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, to um, more recent Miley Cyrus embracing hip hop culture uh, to acquire more popularity, and then once that popularity hits, deciding to distance herself from the black community and hip hop culture. Um, I think that was very evident in the movie as well. The connection of a lot of people say that black people don't have, well, black Americans don't have culture. Where this movie indicates that to a certain extent, the Mississippi Delta blues is the linchpin to American music as a whole. Um, and that was evident by, I think, one of the most brilliantly shot cinematography scenes I've seen of Sammy singing in the church. And I want to reflect on that scene a little bit because I was listening to Amanda Seales, and she brought up a quote or a speech by Martin Luther King about the house burning from within. And I would definitely go to her YouTube, Amanda Seales, Amanda Land, and looking at her review of Sinners and her interpretation of how that speech coincided with that scene. But I think that was really, really brilliantly shot. And I think it will go down as one of the great oneers uh, in cinematographic history, alongside a lot of other great oneers, which I learned about watching Seth Rogen's studio movie about oneers. I knew about oneers prior, but I didn't know about the difficulty in filming them to the degree. I just knew about that. That was something that was in the film industry that was difficult, but when done right, is a really wonderful shot. I believe most of those scenes in the studio are runners. Don't quote me though. But yeah, I thought it just was a beautiful shot. The way it's done, the way it felt, the music, Ludwig Göransson. Um, hey, he's giving Hans Zimmerman a run for his money, bro. He has not missed. Ryan Coogler is 5 for 5 for his film. Um, there's so much more I would love to talk about in this movie. I'm hoping I can convince Mark to have a vampire series on Movie Lith, where we can get into the vampire side of it, of the lore, how some of the scenes and some of the vibe of it has references to other great vampire movies and horror films, and some connections that I think people aren't making if you're not quite familiar with some of the horror films. And I know Mark, the cinephile that he is, I think I can convince him. So those are the things that I would love to get into as well. But the last thing that I do want to get into before I wrap this up is I feel it's imperative that I talk about the financial side of it, the financial side of it, and the discussion around it. So there's been a lot of talk about. There was a Variety article, a New Yorker article about how in the first week of the film's release, basically bringing up Ryan Coogler's deal, which I'll get into in a little bit, and how they were projecting that it's a far away from uh, it being profitable. The statement of it being far away from it being profitable isn't the issue. It's the fact that it's being brought up when it hasn't been brought up for any other movie that has had the the run that Sinners has had in its first 3 weeks, and at that time in its first week. To provide some historical reference is the deal that they're referring to is Ryan Coogler got a deal where after 25 years of the film's release, he gets the rights of the film back. This is not something new. And I want to say this, and somebody else stated it. I don't remember who stated it, but it's very important to say. Anything when it comes to black people and it's beneficial and it's a deal, we're not the first to have it. I guarantee you, we are not the first to have it. We only got it because somebody else got it, and we were in a position to be able to negotiate for it. Quentin Tarantino got this deal for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Same deal. The only difference is Coogler got 25 years, where I believe Quentin Tarantino got 30 years before he gets the rights back. So, again, this is not the first time it was done. I don't remember articles being written stating that that deal was going to crush studios. But suddenly it's going to crush studios now that a black man got it. That speaks to me volumes. Why is it now that because he got it that it's going to be volumes? Because, like I say, for a lot of things that benefit black people benefit everybody in society. Affirmative action. What you want to say about DEI? Black people didn't benefit from that the most. White women did. When you look at the numbers, it is what it is. So, again, Ryan Coogler didn't get that deal first. He got it. It's great. And he should get it. The reason why this film was written, produced, directed by him. Original IP. That's important. The film's about cultural appropriation. Part of the film is about cultural appropriation. Stealing black creations from black people. If he didn't get the rights back on this movie, that's exactly what happened. Like, his family should benefit and profit from the movie that he wrote, directed, and that was so impactful. So that's another reason why I think that deal was important. And he's already said that this is not a deal that he's going to ask for on other projects that don't quite have the same significance. So it's not something that he's just going to keep on doing. So again, that language and the talk about it, it speaks to what it is. Secondly, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when that came out, it sold 46 million or 47 million in its first week. Nobody said at that time that it was, and it had a similar budget, I think of $90 or $80 million to make. Nobody at that time was saying off that release of 47 million that it's a long way off of its being profitable. No movie, very, 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 very few movies are profitable in their first week. If it's not a freaking, especially original IP. So again, that talk around that is crazy. Second week, the movie Sinners made around almost the same amount. I think it was a 6% drop in movie attendance. That's unheard of, which indicates they're going to make their money back. He is going to make it, the money. The movie's going to be profitable. So the talk about that, it was as especially people that are in the industry, they know this. So again, that was very disheartening, but I'm glad that Sinners is doing so well, that it's continuing to do so well, and that it will continue to do so well to quiet those haters and prove that black movies can do well in the box office. It's about the story. Original IP can do well at the box office. It's about the story. And black people can do good stories. White people can do good stories. Asian people can do good stories. Indigenous people, everybody can do good stories. We just have to have the opportunity to be able to do so. And so hopefully movies like this will be able to provide more of that. I would love to have other people that have seen the movie to have another episode where we can discuss it and see different vantage points of how they interpreted the movie and so much more. And like I said, I'm looking forward to having the discussion with Mark, Movie Lith, about that here in the future. So I would say again, I'm going to end. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. Go see the movie. Go tell me what you took from it. Leave in the comments how you felt about it. And again, there's so much more we can talk about this movie. It's so dense. That's why I saw it twice. I want to see it again when it comes out on DVD or on streaming. I'm gonna buy it. Um, yeah, I can't. I saw this movie 3 weeks ago. I haven't stopped thinking about it. I haven't been able to stop talking about it. Um, so hopefully, award season when award season comes around, that we'll see how well it does then. But I want to say thank you to everybody for listening to a kind of deviation from our normal kind of programming for Free the Plant, Free the People. I'm your host, LeVar Eady, and this podcast is presented to you by BluRok Farm. And again, go to leafwell.com and use the code BluRockFarm10. That's BluRockFarm10 as the code on the screen, and it's not spelled it's spelled BLUROKFARM10 for those that are on audio. So again, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about Sinners. Let us know what you thought about the movie. Let us know what you thought about the podcast. Let us know some other ideas. And again, smoke something good as always. And have a good night.